All right, we'll get started here in a couple minutes, so give people time to join the stream. I have a lot going on over the next 24 to 36 hours, so we'll be busy. We'll try to keep you guys posted with what we're seeing with the latest models. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on mesoanalysis tomorrow, especially tomorrow night, just to see how things evolve as far as cape values, shear, dew points. All of that's going to come into play tomorrow, so we'll have to keep an eye on all that as the day evolves tomorrow. So we'll wait again another couple more minutes, and then we'll get started here. Biggest thing for tomorrow is just to be prepared more than anything. Hope for the best. Hopefully things might not evolve the way they could, so that's kind of the big thing right now, is just be prepared. If we do get that severe weather, then if you're prepared, then the likelihood of everything going successful in your direction will be a great turnout, especially if we get the severe weather. So we'll get started here. There's a video update for the severe weather for tomorrow, gusty winds, and we'll also take a look at Saturday, as we could have another round of severe weather late Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon. So we'll keep an eye on that. But here's our headlines for tonight, what we know. So we know winds will be increasing tomorrow through the day. A wind advisory goes into effect tomorrow afternoon. We'll go over that on the next slide. Sustained winds of 15 to 30 miles an hour with the gusts up to 40 to 55 mile an hour. Obviously, that could cause power outages, some tree limbs to come down, stuff like that. Even outside of thunderstorms, we're still expecting those gusty winds. The reason because of that is pressure gradient force. So high pressure airflow, some high pressure to low pressure. We're going to have that area of low pressure developing to our west. So in order to keep the atmosphere in equilibrium, that's where you're getting that wind to balance out the atmosphere. Otherwise, we'd have all kinds of problems. But as that low pressure gets wound up, gets tighter, you'll see those isobars get closer together, kind of get packed together, and that's where you'll see those stronger winds as that area of low pressure continues to strengthen. So that's what we're kind of expecting to see, those gusty winds tomorrow afternoon that could result in some power outages across parts of the tri-state. So we'll keep an eye on that as that goes along tomorrow. We will see some mixing tomorrow afternoon. So with mixing, that's going to help bring our dew points down to the 40s. Right now, our dew points in our low 50s. We'll see those dew points increase again tomorrow night as that dry line and area of low pressure approaches the tri-state. We'll see that moisture get pumped back into the tri-state, and we'll see dew points. That's kind of been the big question of where we'll wind up moisture-wise. Some of the models are showing dew points in the 50s. Others are showing low 60s. That's kind of the question on how much moisture gets brought back into the tri-state, and that's going to kind of dictate a little bit as far as our severe weather. We have kind of seen dew points go on an increase today more than anything as far as model trend. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. We know severe weather is going to occur tomorrow night during the overnight hours. So anytime after 10 p.m. tomorrow night, that's mainly for our western counties over southern Illinois. So definitely, if you're going to go to bed tomorrow night, you want to have a way to get those warnings. So if you have a NOAA weather radio, make sure that's working, ready to go. If you're going to go to bed, have somebody that, if somebody's staying up that have them call you if a warning is issued for your area. That way you can be alerted and take shelter. So you want to have multiple ways to get those warnings tomorrow night. any way that you can get those warnings, that will benefit you as far as getting to shelter quickly. Another thing with the storms tomorrow night is going to be the speed that these storms will be moving. So um, it's not out of the question that these storms are going to be moving the speed limit tomorrow night. We could see storms moving at 70 miles an hour or more. Um, that's kind of up in the air as far as how we see things evolve. So there really won't be a lot of time to get to your shelter tomorrow night, especially once these storms get going again. They'll be moving pretty quickly, 50-mile an hour or more. So you'll have a limited window to seek shelter whenever those warnings are issued. So you definitely want to be prepared. You want to have that shelter ready to go. You want to know where you're going tonight. That way, if that warning is issued tomorrow, you have that action plan in place and you know where you're going to seek shelter. Damaging winds, again, that's kind of the biggest concern. That's why the moderate risk was issued this morning. And that moderate risk was continued this afternoon by the Storm Prediction Center. That's mainly for damaging winds that could potentially be higher than 70 miles an hour, 70 mile an hour or more. The reason behind that is the low level jet pushing into the area. Just 2,000 to 3,000 feet off the surface, we're expecting 60 to 70 knot winds. All it takes is one of these storms to bring that wind down to the surface in a downdraft, and damaging winds will result. Stuff that we're unsure of. This is kind of the big issue we have right now. I'm the type that I don't like to ramp up language unless I'm confident in a forecast. Right now, models really aren't helping us out much. A lot of our convective allowing models are kind of limiting how far south the line develops. Some develop some scattered showers and thunderstorms to the south of that line, which those could potentially have supercell potential with those. Obviously, more of a damaging wind and tornado threat with those. With the line, you'd kind of see the embedded QLCS type tornadoes, the brief spin ups, and obviously damaging winds. Again, we want to be prepared for damaging winds tomorrow. That's kind of a give me right there, especially with the wind fields aloft. So that's why we want to be prepared as far as damaging winds. Understanding thunderstorm outlooks. This is from the Storm Prediction Center, so I kind of want to just throw this up there. That way you guys kind of have a general idea of how an outlook works. Again, outlooks are not a percentage chance, it's a probability. So a 45% probability means that somewhere within, let's say, that high risk area or that moderate risk area, that 45% risk area, that means within that area, there's a 45% probability that we're going to see X amount of severe weather reports. That doesn't guarantee you will see severe weather, but that's kind of where the probabilities work into your favor there. So kind of a summary just to kind of explain it. A marginal risk, that's where you're looking at isolated thunderstorms, maybe one or two reports of severe weather. Again, you can kind of see the scale here of how many severe storms are possible. You're kind of none to numerous. So you can see as the level increases. So when we get to slight, that's where we're kind of seeing isolated to scattered severe storms. You kind of see that value increase a little bit. Still kind of low, but some storms that damaging wind or hail or maybe a tornado potential. Obviously, when we're getting up here to 3, 4, 5 range, that's where we're more confident and more likely to see widespread severe weather. With an enhanced risk kind of scattered to numerous severe storms expected, high confidence that several storms will contain damaging winds, hail, or tornadoes. So that's kind of a general idea of how that works. Again, moderate risk. Again, the higher you go up, the more confident and the more events you would expect in that outlook area. So this is the wind advisory that's in effect for tomorrow. Again, across the tri-state, most of this goes into effect at 1 p.m. The exception will be Knox, Davies, and Martin County, where it goes into effect at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then for Du Bois, Perry, Hancock, and Ohio County also goes into effect at 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Across the heart of the tri-state in the Paducah area, that advisory goes into, or will continue until 4 a.m. Saturday. Clay, Richland, and Lawrence County till 1 a.m. and Knox, Davies, Martin till 4 p.m. Then back further to the east, that will go until 8 p.m. on Saturday. Again, wind gusts to 40 to 55 miles an hour will not be uncommon, especially in the advisory area. Again, we've kind of been talking about that for a couple of days now and kind of giving you a heads up. Hey, we're going to have strong gusty winds in addition to the potential for severe weather. So this is the latest day 2 update that was issued at 12:30 today. You can see an enhanced risk covers pretty much most of southwest Indiana and portions of western Kentucky. A slight risk off to the east, which includes pretty much most of Perry County, portions of Hancock and Ohio County. And then off to the west across southern Illinois, that's where we have the moderate risk for severe weather. We'll break that down into probabilities. Again, here's the day 2 tornado probabilities. You can see a large 10% area that covers most of the tri-state except the far eastern portion, eastern quarter of the tri-state. You can see a 5% covers that section of the tri-state with the brown. A 10% covers the majority of the tri-state. Again, that's not a guarantee you're going to see a tornado. Somewhere within that yellow shaded area, there's a 10% probability of a tornado occurring. It's a very large area, so that does not mean everybody's going to see a tornado. The conditions are favorable tomorrow for tornadoes, so any storm that does develop, especially a supercell that's on its own, obviously is going to pose a tornado threat and potentially even a strong tornado or two. If we wind up more linear with the line of storms, then we'll be looking at more damaging wind and the QLCS type tornado that's embedded within the line of storms. That's kind of what the question is as far as how things evolve tomorrow, how far south that line develops. If we don't see that line develop that far to the south, then we're going to kind of be concerned about supercells developing. Again, that's going to be more scattered, so not everybody's going to see a supercell tomorrow. Where they wind up developing, that's kind of the question too as well. So we're not really getting a lot of support from convective allowing models as far as where that's going to occur. A large hail could be a pretty good probability tomorrow. I know lapse rates are pretty steep. So we're looking at lapse rates between 7 and 8.5 degrees Celsius. So obviously aloft, the air will be cold enough for hail development. Could see some 2-inch diameter hail or more, especially in this red area to the west. Across the rest of the tri-state, 15%, maybe an inch or 2 diameter hail possible with some of those supercells. We'll keep an eye on that and see how that evolves as well. Again, like we mentioned before, the big story and the reason for the increase into the moderate risk was for damaging winds. You can see that pink area covering most of southern Illinois and portions of western Kentucky. That's the 45% risk area for damaging winds. Across the rest of the tri-state, southwest Indiana and western Kentucky, a 30% area, and then a 15% risk off to the east. Again, if this line of storms develops, that's kind of the expectation as it moves off to the east overnight. We will see a gradual weakening trend. But again, for the areas that are in the red and pink, definitely want to be on guard for damaging winds, potentially in excess of 70 miles an hour. Obviously, that's going to do some damage and power outages and stuff like that. So that's another reason why we're concerned about damaging winds. We'll take a look at Saturday. So this is the day 3 outlook. The day 3 outlook starts at 7 a.m. on Saturday and then continues until 7 a.m. on Sunday. So that's how your outlooks work. So your day 2 outlooks in effect from 7 a.m. Friday until 7 a.m. Saturday. So the concern for Saturday afternoon and kind of the question on how everything evolves. One, tomorrow will have an impact on how Saturday develops. You know, we don't see a lot of storms develop across the tri-state, then that's going to leave the atmosphere primed, ready to go. So once we see that wave of low pressure, the new wave of low pressure, develop to the south and rocket to the northeast, we'll see that line of storms develop across the tri-state. Again, that front will kind of hang up somewhere across the tri-state. That will kind of serve as a focal point for showers and thunderstorms along that front. And that's where we're expecting that heavy rain to develop, somewhere here in the tri-state. We'll take a look at futurecast here in a little bit, and we'll kind of show you a general idea of what we expect for Saturday. Again, we could see this slight risk, portions of it upgraded to an enhanced risk potentially tomorrow. Some of the models are kind of giving us parameters that would be supportive of severe weather on Saturday. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Western portions of the tri-state, you should be okay. I'm thinking the main area that of concern would be Southwest Indiana and Western Kentucky. Again, that's kind of where your slight risk is at. Probabilities for day 3, you can see a 5% across portions of Southwest Indiana, Southern Illinois, pretty much along the Wabash River there. And then off to the east, including the metro, a 15% risk area. Again, we'd be dealing with damaging winds and potentially tornadoes on Saturday, which would be late morning into the early afternoon hours. So now's the time to prepare for severe weather. Your tornado sheltering guidelines. You want to seek the best available place of refuge whenever that warning is issued. So you immediately want to go seek shelter as soon as it's issued. Again, with storms moving rapidly tomorrow, not a lot of time to mess around and get to that shelter. So you want to be ready to go. You want to know where to go. Again, in your house, you want to be on the lowest level. So obviously the first floor, you don't want to be on the second or third floor, or if you're in an apartment complex, you definitely want to be in the first floor. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So you kind of want to find that room that's in the center of your house. You've seen videos of aftermath from tornadoes where, people survived because they were in the bathroom, and that's pretty much the only part of the house that's still standing. That's why you want to put as many walls between you and the outside. That gives you a better chance of survival. You definitely want to have like a bicycle helmet, blankets, pillows, or even a mattress to cover and protect yourself from flying debris. Again, flying debris is what kills people, not the tornado itself. So that's what you have to be prepared for, and you have to protect yourself whenever these tornadoes are moving through. Some of the worst options, obviously, a mobile home, vehicles underneath a highway overpass, large open rooms like gymnasiums, manufactured housing. Again, if you live in a mobile home, have a plan tomorrow to go somewhere. I know there's some storm shelters that have been opened across the tri-state, or will be open tomorrow across the tri-state. I'll try to find some of those and get those posted up. That way everybody has a general idea of where to go. If not, get a hold of some friends, family, or co-workers. Just be a good citizen and reach out to somebody you know that might live in a mobile home or a manufactured house or anything like that, and get them somewhere safe to stay for the night in case we see these storms develop like they potentially could. Some good options: interior room, well-constructed home or building, obviously a basement. The best options, again, above or below ground tornado shelters, and then specifically designed FEMA safe rooms. Again, best place, lowest level of your home, middle of the house, away from outdoor windows, walls. Again, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So we'll go ahead and switch over to source here, and we'll start taking a look at some of our maps here. And let's see, there we go. Get that loaded up right. So right now we're taking a look at futurecast. So this is for tomorrow, and I'll put that in motion a little bit. We'll just go slide by slide here. Get that loaded up here. So it'll be pretty quiet most of the day tomorrow. So again, you kind of see some scattered showers develop to the west after about 8 p.m. Went too far. Not expecting a whole lot of activity tomorrow during the day or even into the evening again. Any risk is going to be off to our far west. And let me see here. Have to update my video settings. Apparently switched on me here. But you can see those showers and thunderstorms develop off to the west. So this is about between 8, 10, again, getting towards midnight. You kind of see these showers and thunderstorms push across the tri-state. The question is, with the line of storms, which we'll zoom out of here a little bit, and I'll kind of show you where the line is expected to develop. So you can see this line of storms here. This is at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Line of storms is pretty much here across central Missouri back into Iowa. Again, this is where the area of low pressure will be. Let me kick on the ISO bars so you guys can kind of see where that is at. There we go. But you see that area of low pressure that develops pretty much near the Nebraska Iowa border there, and that will continue to develop as we move into the evening hours. We'll put that into motion here, and you can kind of see how that line of storms moves off to the east through the evening hours. Let me fix those contours. There we go. We'll go ahead and put that into motion here. You can see that line of storms develop. It will continue to push off to the east. This model, which is the HRRR, so this is the 18Z run. Some models want to keep the end of the line pretty much from St. Louis north. Others develop it a little bit further south. The other question is this activity that develops ahead of the line of storms. We're going to see moisture increasing. So that's kind of more advection type activity. Those dew points will be trying to increase about this time whenever that activity is developing. So we'll have to keep an eye on it, see if anything develops from that. I know we actually have a pretty decent cap that's in place about that time too. We'll obviously have to see that cap erode before we see any storms develop. Otherwise, it's going to be slow going as we try to see those storms develop. Again, this is about 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow night. You can see that line kind of pushing through St. Louis back towards Peoria. Here across the tri-state, again, we're kind of seeing those scattered showers and thunderstorms develop. Again, will they be supercells? That's kind of the question. Again, kind of as we move into the night, we'll see this area push through the tri-state. You can kind of see how the line is weakened off to the north as it kind of moves away from the best support as far as activity, as far as dew points, moisture, cape, kind of gets away from there. But as this moves off to the east, you can see the whole area weaken as we move on into the pre-dawn hours on Saturday. We will see a lull in the action, and kind of curious on how much clearing we will see on Saturday morning. So that could give the atmosphere the opportunity to reprime. Again, this new area low pressure will pretty much develop down here in Arkansas and Louisiana and shoot off to the northeast across the tri-state. Obviously, there's going to be a severe weather outbreak here across Mississippi and Alabama. More severe weather back in here to Tennessee and Kentucky. The question is, how far to the west will we see these storms develop? You can kind of see this area of precipitation pushing back in towards the metro area here. This is kind of where that heavy rain area will set up across western Kentucky, and then eventually push into portions of southwest Indiana as we get towards the end of this model run here. You can kind of see a lot of showers and thunderstorms here. So obviously the heavy rain threat is going to be across southwest Indiana and western Kentucky, where we could see 1 to 2 inches of rain, maybe even locally higher amounts. Again, a lot of severe weather down here to the south. That could impact moisture return. Some of our parameters could impact our severe weather threat here. But again, right now it looks like a decent shot for severe weather again Saturday, late morning into early Saturday afternoon, mainly for portions of southwest Indiana and western Kentucky. Again, we'll keep an eye on that. Again, we see those thunderstorms train over to the same area. It probably turn more into a flash flood threat than a severe weather threat. We'll take a look at winds real quick. Get that loaded real quick. These are some of the wind gusts for tomorrow. So this is at 7 p.m. tomorrow, and you can see some of these wind gusts off to the west where we're seeing 50 to 60 to even 70 mile an hour wind gusts. Again, some of those winds are associated with that line of storms, but you can see here across this tri-state by 7 p.m. we're still expecting wind gusts of 30 to potentially even 50 miles an hour across the tri-state. Those winds will continue to increase as we head into the early overnight hours, and then we'll see them decrease as this low pressure continues to occlude and lifts off to the northeast. Then we'll see the new area of low pressure develop off to our south and southwest. One more thing we'll take a look at is dew points, and that's kind of what we're waiting to see what happens tomorrow as far as how dew points evolve tomorrow afternoon. So we'll load up this animation real quick and you can kind of see. So your greens are your higher dew points, your reds, that's your reds and whites are kind of your drier air. You can kind of see how that moisture during the late afternoon, early afternoon hours, you can see how dew points kind of drop. And then you see that green kind of return from the south where those dew points will increase. Again, that's kind of going to give our storms the fuel they need as far as what they need to develop. I'll put up the pointer here, and you can see how those dew points are in the right around 60 degrees, which is more than enough for severe weather tomorrow. Again, most of the time, you just need dew points of 55 or higher to see severe weather. You can pretty much see a pretty stout dry line front here. That's kind of where we're trying to figure out where that's going to stall tomorrow. You can kind of see it so this is around 6 a.m. You can kind of see it's pretty much just off to the west of the tri-state. And then you see it try to advance off to the east, but you see that moisture surging back from the south again on a Saturday. So the question is, where will the cutoff be for the rain on Saturday? And where will the cutoff be for the severe weather on Saturday? So if you're over in our southern Illinois counties, it might not be too bad on Saturday. Again, across southwest Indiana and western Kentucky, looks like a soggy Saturday. Across the tri-state, again, still a lot of uncertainty. You know, our convective allowing models really aren't giving us a clear picture of what to expect. You know, they're not showing a lot in the way of convection. That could change. You know, it is still quite early in the forecast cycle. So we'll keep an eye on how things evolve tomorrow, especially through the day. Again, timing. This is going to be an overnight event. Definitely want to hammer that home. You're most likely going to be asleep when this event occurs, so you definitely want to have a way to get warnings. Know weather radio, cell phone. If you have to stay up, stay up. Obviously, we're going to be here through the entire night tomorrow night. We'll have live coverage. Again, the question is, how does it evolve when it moves in? Will we see more individual cells, or will we see a line of storms? Either way, damaging winds for sure. That's a give me right there that we know. Tornadoes, potentially with QLCS. If we have the line, and we'll see embedded tornadoes. Our typical QLCS would be quick spin up tornadoes. Supercells, and then we'd be more concerned with individual supercells that could produce stronger tornadoes. So again, have a plan tomorrow. Know where you're going to go before the storms develop. Again, we'll keep you updated throughout the day tomorrow, and we'll continue to take a look at model data as it comes in tonight. But That's the latest we have for you here at the Tri-State WX Weather Center. Again, we'll keep you posted throughout the tonight and again tomorrow. Again, tonight, get out there and enjoy the lunar eclipse, which will kick off here in about another few hours. But if you didn't have the opportunity to view it back, let's see, I think it was 2022 was the last lunar eclipse or not. I can't remember exactly. I have pictures of it, so I have to take a look at it to see what my date stamp is on those pictures. But pretty cool spectacle to check out. If not, just set an alarm for 1 a.m. and you can just kind of check it out then. But pretty cool experience, especially after seeing the solar eclipse. Now we get a lunar eclipse. So if you're a big space astronomy type person like I am, then you'll kind of enjoy this. But thanks for tuning in. Again, we'll keep you updated. New updates from the Storm Prediction Center will come in around midnight, 1 a.m. We'll try to get those posted up. And then, again, updates